Hi, I'm really welcome back to my YouTube channel, Life Worth Reading. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the 15 books that I want to read in 2024. A lot of people do like 24 in 2024. I'm not going to do that because 24 books seems a little bit too unattainable for me. And I was indecisive between like doing 10 or 12 or a little bit more, but I settled on 15. I think that 15 is a goodish number. It means a little bit more than one a month, but I think that's a fine number to achieve. And I have selected a few categories. I've just pulled books that I'm actually excited to read this year, which means that I don't have a lot of backlist books. Probably my oldest books are still on the shelf, but I try to pick books that I was excited to read in 2024 and that I actually do see myself reading this year, because that's really important. Because usually I don't stick with my list, so I needed to make something that I was really excited about so that I could actually achieve this goal. Most of them are for my physical TBR because that's just what we're trying to go for this year. We're trying to read the backlist, we're trying to read that physical TBR so we can feel proud of ourselves and not feel ashamed of the number of books that we have. I'm talking about me, of course, but if you identify with that, then you know what you have to do this year. So without further ado, let's talk about the 15 books that I hope to read in 2024. In the first two places, we have a series that I'm going to be starting and or continuing. And the first one is a series that I want to start this year because one of my best friends lent me this book and I need to give it back. And I promised that I would read it and I still haven't. And that is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I have the whole trilogy, but of course, this is the only book that's going on the TBR because I can't put a big ass trilogy in here. I'll get unmotivated really quick. So this is the first book to the Mistborn trilogy, which is one of the most famous by Brandon Sanderson, I would say. I actually don't know if it's his first one or not. He has published a lot since then, so I'm actually not sure. But the tagline says, "What if the Dark Lord won?" I know that this is a world in which the Dark Lord has won and evil has conquered the good guys. And we also have like this really different magic system where people can ingest metals and they have like weird powers that come with that. So I've never heard of anything like that. This of course is a very chunky book. As we can see here, this is an epic fantasy and it has, yeah, like 650 pages basically. And this is not the only chunky book on this list, but anyway, I do really want to read this. This is the year that I'm going to give this series a try. I hope that I love it. Sometimes with adult like epic fantasies, I can be a little bit intimidated by it, but I'm hopeful that this is one that I'm really going to love and I need to read it this year. Then another adult fantasy series that I'm going to be continuing, and another book that one of my best friends has lent me, and that is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This was gifted temporarily by my friend Mafalda from Mafalda is Reading, and this is the second book in the Poppy War trilogy, so this follows the events of the Poppy War, of course. I'm going to have to read some like spoilery things about what happened in the first one because I don't recall all of it. I do have good book memory usually, but I no longer recall every single thing that happened in the Poppy War. So I need to do that before I go back in. But this is following our main character, Rin, who gets into this really prestigious military academy. And she discovers that she can yield the power of the gods. And so it's kind of like a main character dark descent. So it's a really interesting tale. I love R.F. Kuang and her writing. And yeah, this is another chunky book. This is another almost 700 page book, but I'm ready to tackle this one and hopefully then move on to the Burning God. That's the last one in the trilogy. This is one that I would love to finish this year. At least the second book is guaranteed, but will I get to the third one? We will see. I don't know yet, but this one I really do want to get to. Next up, I have a book that I got for my birthday, and that is Lona by Otesha Mosfeg. This was gifted to me by my boyfriend, and I am so thankful that I got gifted this book because last semester, well now I'm about to enter second semester, so yeah, last semester I had a class on like medieval culture, medieval times in Europe, of course. And I just got really fascinated with it. Like, medieval culture is just something that I didn't know that I liked, but I had a really great professor, and it just opened my eyes to it. And now I honestly just want to know more about this. And this is set during like this weird medieval times in which we follow, I think, a few main characters, but mostly we follow the son of a shepherd, and it's all about power, religion, and it just seems like it's going to be really weird. It's going to be my first Atessa Mashfaq book, but this is probably the one that I'm most interested in, and I honestly cannot wait to read it. I hope that I enjoy it. This has all the right things for me to enjoy it, but I hope that I do, because some people say that it's really weird and maybe not in the best way, but I'm not sure. I really want to love this book. Next up, we have another really huge book, and that is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. This is a book that I purchased semi-recently, a few months ago, and I started reading it actually last year, almost a year ago now. And I got my library copy translated, and I read it till about the halfway point, and then I had to give it back. But I was really interested, I was really loving it. And now I bought this English version because I was reading the Portuguese one, and I do want to reread it until the point where I was, because yeah, English is always a little bit different. So I do want to reread up until where I was, and I do want to continue because I was really enjoying it. This is a book set in Argentina, and it's about this young boy and his father, and they have like this kind of powers, medium powers, and his mother's side of the family belongs to like this weird dark cult. So it's very like cult vibes, very demon vibes. It has a very interesting way of storytelling that I haven't encountered before, and I just overall really liked it. It's very chunky, it is, but hey, I really was liking it, and I think it's not as much of a slow read as it might seem because of the length of the book. Like, it was flowing really nicely, and so I really want to get back into that groove and finish this one. Next up, we have How Beautiful We Were by Imbolo Umbe. This is a book that I bought last summer, and it really gives summer vibes. I don't know if I'm gonna wait until the summer. I don't like setting times to read books because when the time comes, I never follow through. So this does give summer vibes, but will I read it in the summer? I don't know. We'll just have to see. But I really love this cover. It's about this African village where I think US company comes to extract oil, but they're pretending like they care about this village, and then a whole bunch of stuff starts happening and the village kind of rebels against them, and it's about that kind of exploitation that does happen. And I have heard nothing but amazing things about this book. I love this cover, and I just really want to read the story, even though I know it's going to be really devastating, but I really want to give it a try, and I just hope that I love it as much as everyone else has. Next up, we have two books because I am going to be in my classics era in 2024. I'm not setting a number of classics to read each month. I'm not setting a goal for the year even. I am just vibing with the classics. And so I have two here because I do own them physically. So these are just the ones that I have at the moment. And one of them is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Can you believe I've never read this? Me either. I don't know what I've been doing, but I am really excited to read this one. I know it's all about Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. I don't want to know anything else. Nothing. Because I actually haven't seen the movie either. I know, blasphemy. I haven't seen the movie either. But I don't know, I'm just really excited. I loved Jane Eyre last year. I know it's a very different vibe like that one. It's much more gothic, much more less romantic, I would say. This feels more romanticism heavy, but I think that I'm going to enjoy it because everyone else has. Why wouldn't I? It's a classic for a reason. I am hopeful that it'll be very well written. I'm hopeful that I will swoon at the romance because this type of book needs to have me on my knees for these two main characters. I need to feel their chemistry. I need to feel their romance, and if I don't, that's a problem. But I'm hopeful that I will love this one, and I can't wait to finally read it because I've been missing out. And the other classic that I have is Little Women by Louise May Alcott. I love this edition. Like, look at this. It's so beautiful. And of course, this book is about Jo, Beth, Meg and Amy, and it's all about their sisterhood in the, I think, 19th century in the United States, right? Right. I mean, I love Little Women by Greta Gerwig. Obsessed. Obsessed. I love that movie so much. And so me never having read this feels blasphemous as well. Like, how come I have never read this classic? It's really a miss for me. Also, this edition does have Little Women and Good Wives, the sequel, which I also have never read, of course. Like, that is a dumb thing to say, but I am excited to read both of them. I'm hopeful that I'll love it. I love all the cozy vibes of this cover, like, and I just want to feel all warm inside, even though I know sad things do happen. But I want to read and I want to feel like so cozy in this book, and that's all that I want. Then a book that is definitely on the backlist, one of the oldest one, if not the oldest one on this specific TBR, and that is Hamnet by Meg O'Farrell. Guys, it'll be 3 years this year in 2024 since I bought this book, and I still haven't read it. Like, why am I like this? Why the hell am I like this? Listen, I don't know. This is all about Shakespeare's son Hamnet and his wife, and Shakespeare's wife Agnes, and I really do want to read this book. I've heard amazing things for 3 years now. I know it's going to be beautiful. I know it's going to be devastating. I have to finally read this one, okay? I do. I have to finally get this over with. I need to drag myself to read it, because I tried reading it one time and just the start was just a little bit slow for me. But I'm going to make an effort this time around to keep reading, to keep pushing through, because I know it'll be well worth it. Okay, and the final 2 books that I have on my physical TBR. The first one is Lotte by Shala von Reinhold. I bought this book at the same time that I bought Our Share of Night. And this book is all about the Black modernist movement in London. It's about Black artists. It's about, I don't know, identity in the city. I obviously do love Black literature in general, but I do specifically really tend to enjoy Black British literature. And this in specific was published in #20 in 2020, a Jacaranda collaboration with Words of Color Productions, and it is the first time a UK publisher will publish 20 Black British writers in 1 year. So this is a part of that list. I have heard amazing things about this book. I love the cover, and I don't know, I love this. I love books about art, and I have a feeling that I'm just going to really enjoy this, even though it is a little bit big as well. But I love these types of stories. I love art. I love finding yourself through art. I love art as political expression, and so I think this will tie in all of those topics and make a wonderfully beautiful book. And finally, one of the most beautiful books that I think that I own at the moment is Honor by 3D Umrigar, and this book is about an Indian American woman named Smita that goes back to India to cover a story about a local woman that is attacked by her villagers for falling in love with a Muslim man. And it's all about, unfortunately, I think, about love, but also about non-acceptance and tradition. And it says that Smita comes face to face with a society where tradition carries more weight than one's own heart, and a story that threatens to unearth the painful secrets of Smita's own past. I think that she falls in love, she discovers some very heartbreaking things about her past, and also this cover is just stunning. I'm obsessed, and I haven't read a lot of books about India, set in India. I did read last year erotic stories for Punjabi widows, which I really enjoyed, and it just left me itching for more about the stories about women in different places of the world and how they suffer, usually, because that's what women do. They suffer. usually. But I am really excited about this one. I think that I'm really going to love it. It was Reese's book club. Usually I do trust Reese's book club. She usually does have great picks. And I'm just really, really excited about this one. My pile of books just fell off, but I don't even care. The next book that I have that is not on my physical TBR is Mame by Jessica George. I actually don't know anything about this book. I think that I've read a synopsis a long time ago. I have forgotten it, but I remember that I was interested enough to want to pick this up. The cover is incredible. I know that it's by a Black author. If I do remember, it's about family. That's all that I need to know. Honestly, that's all that I need to know. I have to read this book. The reviews have been amazing, and I really do trust my intuition on this one. Next up, we have Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova, and this is a horror book that actually has like swept up all the booktube besties that I have seen last year. It really came in like this underdog book that everyone loved, and I know that it's about a child that dies, and I think that the mother keeps a piece of the lung because they think that it can not really bring the child back together but create another one. But it happens, and they call it Monstrilio. And then I think that the mother has to come face to face with the bad things that this creation is doing. I think it's going to be heartbreaking. I hope it's going to be a little bit scary as well. And I just want to know what all the people are enjoying, because if everyone has loved it, I will probably enjoy it as well. And that's all that I need to know. Next up, we have Big Swiss by Jean Begin. Also a book that has swept up the internet last year, and I know this is a book that has a very ridiculous synopsis. It's about a woman that transcribes calls for a sex therapist, and then she falls in love with a woman and she meets her on the street and she becomes obsessed with her. It's a very ridiculous idea, I would say, but sometimes a book with a ridiculous idea is exactly what you need. Like, sometimes I do love an absurd book, and I think that this might be one that I really enjoy. And I've heard amazing things about it. I think it's going to be silly, maybe also a little bit sad, because sometimes these absurd books get really sad. I don't know why, but sometimes they do. So I think it might be a little bit tragic as well, maybe. I don't know, but I'm really excited to get into it, and I hope that I love it. Alright, the next book that I have is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. And I actually have no idea what this book is about. I think it's about this woman that grows in this, it's not a household, but like in this, is it the bunker or is that another story? I don't know. I just know that it's a book that I have heard amazing things about. I think this book is originally written in French, I think, and then translated, which would also fulfill like a general goal of reading more translated fiction as well. And I love the cover, and I'm just a sucker for when a book has really good reviews, and it's intriguing to me. I Who Have Never Known Men is a really great name, like a book title. That's amazing, and it really does spark my interest, and I think I'm going to love it. Okay, and the last book that I have on my list is actually The Adventures of Amina Ali by S.A. Chakraborty. And I really cannot explain why I put this book on here, knowing that it's a fantasy and a really big one. I thought it was a standalone, but apparently it's going to be like a duology or maybe a series. It's about this woman who used to be a pirate, and I think that she goes into retirement, but she is pulled out of it for one last mission. I generally have not read a lot of pirate books, but this one in specific really intrigued me. I don't know why. I think it's also because Kayla from Books and Lala really enjoyed it, and she's not usually fantasy girly, so it just made me really excited to try it out. It's a big one. Like, I don't know why I put this on here, but there's something calling me to this book, and I think that I could really enjoy it. I don't read a lot of fantasy. When I do, it's very, like, I'm very picky with it, but there's just something about this premise that is really calling out to me. The cover is gorgeous, and I do love different concepts to a fantasy book, because usually a lot of fantasy books share a few concepts, but this one in particular is a pirate book that I am really interested in reading. Alright, so here is my list, at least here, the top 10 books that I want to read in 2024. I also have another 5 that I talked about, but these are mostly the books that I want to read this year. Some of them are new additions to my shelves, some of them are a little bit older, but all of them are books that I'm really excited to get to, and hopefully that will mean that I'll do a better job in 2024, because last year was shameful. I should be ashamed of what I did last year, but this year will be different. You've heard it here first. This year will be different. Alright, and that is all that I gotta say. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in my next video. I hope you have a nice day, and always remember that life is worth reading.